This is the most beautiful thing on the earth, isn't it? The forest. The forest is called home for a lot of different kinds of plants and animals. Did you ever see this in real life? I did not. I really hope you did, because these forests are in great danger. This picture is not the reality anymore. Sadly, this is reality. The forest fires are increasing and the main cause of deforestation are the humans. But why do humans cut trees? The first thing that pops in your mind is to make paper, right? Paper and wood only account for 10% of the total deforestation. The other 90% comes from soybean farmers and palm oil plantations. Every second, a forest the size of a football field is cut down. This is on a yearly basis the size of Switzerland. 31% of the Earth's surface is covered by forest. By 2030, there may be only 10% of the world's rainforest left. 137 different species of plants, animals and birds are lost every single day. Trees create oxygen, remain the ecological balance and global biodiversity. Therefore, we can conclude now that deforestation is a big problem, because it has a negative effect on climate change and global warming. But who is taking responsibility? This little monkey cannot do it on its own. The big organizations, such as institutions and the government, they must act. But why do these companies nothing? First of all, money. Organizations and countries want to make as much money as possible and they want to do it fast. Multiple studies compared economic growth of a country to deforestation. According to these studies, leads economic growth in poor countries to increases in environmental depletion and so to deforestation. This effect disappears for developed economies. This is because developed countries want to meet the increased demand for agricultural products. Secondly, people put more value on the present than on the future. Sustainable solutions take more time. Thirdly, organizations and people have bounded rationality, which means that the organizations and people cannot make an optimal decision. We do not have unlimited time, resources and mental capabilities. Of course, one has more cognitive capacity than the other. There is a significant gap between the business and sustainability goals companies set for themselves and what they are actually doing to attain them. How is this for governmental institutions? Governmental institutions have to work together to act against deforestation, despite their bounded rationality. And we all know that change takes time, but how many countries are aware of the fact that something needs to change? And is this awareness increased in the last years?
The climate change conference are a good start. Assuming that governmental institutions have to collaborate and act collectively against the deforestation. Deforestation is already a hot topic on the agendas of climate change conferences, especially in the COP of New York in 2014 and the one last year in Glasgow. We are especially investigating these two conferences in this quantitative research. We will answer the following research question. How does the country's status, which refers to the GDP number, and signing the Climate Change Conference Pact of 2014 and 21 affect deforestation in the world? The first thing we are going to do is to compare which and how many countries signed the Global Deforestation Pact of the Climate Change Conference in 2014 and 21 to act against cutting trees for unnecessary human needs. Furthermore, we are going to investigate if there is a relationship between the GDP and the amount of the forest on signing the Deforestation Pact. In this way, we investigate the country's GDP status and sign the Conference Pact on Deforestation in the world. As the research question addressed, this research aims to figure out the factors that how countries' GDP status and sign the Conference Pact on Deforestation in the world. The independent variable will be the countries that signed in both conferences and their GDP. We are measuring the effect on deforestation by scaling the amount of the forest in a specific country. The data used in this research are countries who signed the Conference of New York in 2014 and the Conference in Glasgow in 2021. Furthermore, the forest data is collected by an organization called Mongabay. This organization provides news and information on tropical forest, wildlife, and environmental science. The GDP data is collected by an organization called World Bank.
This bar chart shows the amount of countries that signed the Conference of New York in 2014 and Glasgow in 2021. 43 countries signed in total in 2014 and 141 countries signed in 2021. 40 of these countries signed both conferences. We will dive deeper into the amount of countries that signed the two conferences in the next two graphs. This scatter plot shows the amount of countries that signed the conference in relation to the amount of forest each country has. It is interesting that countries who signed both conferences have a lot of forest in their country. And in 2021, also a lot of countries with a lot of forest signed the pact. This scatter plot shows the amount of countries that signed the conference in relationship to the GDP of a country. You can see that the countries who signed the 2040 conference have a middle to high GDP. In 2021, there were also a lot of countries that signed the conference with a low GDP. So we can conclude from the results of this research that the factors GDP and amount of forest of a country have a significant impact for a country to sign the conference and stop deforestation. More countries with high amounts of forest and a low GDP signed the Conference of Glasgow. This is important because economic growth in developing countries lead to increases in deforestation. But with more developing countries signing the conference in 2021, the more effect the Conference of Glasgow has. Last but not least, all the countries that signed the Conference of Glasgow covers 91% of all the forest in the world. This is significant more than the countries that signed in 2040. They only covered 39%. There are some limitations of this research because we only investigated the factors GDP and amount of forest. There are maybe more factors that influence the country status and thus signing the conference pact to stop deforestation in the world.
This can be investigated in future research, together with the reason why some countries did not sign the conference in 2021. Furthermore, future research can investigate what the exact impact of signing the conference in 2021 has on deforestation. This was our presentation. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact us by email. Thank you very much.